Hello everyone, my name is Lynnette Stephens and I hope that you guys already follow me on social media, but just in case you don't, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, and I would love to have you follow me in all three places. And if you follow me, at least on Facebook, then you know a couple of weeks ago I shared a really cute wreath that was on my front door made out of a garden hose. I didn't actually make the wreath, a friend of mine did, but I decided today that I was going to teach you guys how to make one for yourself if you're interested. Now, I'm not using a garden hose. I'm going to be using actually a rope. Yeah, it's an lariat rope. Because I didn't have an old garden hose laying around that I could use to show you guys, but I did have this rope on hand. So the first thing you're going to want to do to make your wreath, whether you're making it out of rope or garden hose, is you're just going to wind it around into a circle or an oval, whichever you prefer. You get the shape that you're wanting for your wreath, and once you decide on your shape and you're happy with it, then you take a zip tie and you just zip tie what you want to be the top. And the reason we're doing that is because when we put our flowers and our bow on, it's going to cover that zip tie up. So I've already got my rope zip tied. So the next thing I'm going to do, and I went ahead and did a couple of prep steps ahead of time to save time for you guys, but hopefully you already picked out your flowers. And I wanted to kind of walk you guys through how you decide your flower placement. The first thing you want to do is I had picked the lavender colored flowers. I have picked yellow, actually sunflowers, and then just some pretty little red flowers. So the first thing you want to do when making your wreath is kind of the design stage, and that is to think about what would make the most sense to go at the back of your wreath. And I'm going to give you guys a little tip. Anything that you've got that's long and slender or just longer than what the other flowers, taller if you will, when you put them stems together, you're going to want to put those at the back of your wreath. If we were to put our red flowers in the front and then do the purple, you guys see what happens. Yeah, your smaller flowers get covered up. So we want to set those back aside, and what I did is I just took on the purple flowers, I took this stem, and I'm going to show you on the sunflower. You're just going to want to cut, pretend this was on here, you're just going to want to cut the flower off as close to this main stem as you can. That way, we're left with enough of the stem of each of the individual flowers that you can get your zip tie around them to hold them snugly on your wreath. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to lay these out of the way so you guys can see what I'm doing. And the first thing you're going to want to do is get your flowers that you're putting on first. Get them where the stems are all kind of gathered up. Now it doesn't matter if they're perfectly lined up or not, because on the ends, if you've got variation in your length, that actually kind of adds to the wreath and makes it look better because everything's not perfectly uniform. So if you've got one or two sticking out that are longer, that's fine. So we're going to put our purple flowers on the wreath, and what I'm doing is I'm just going to put them up near the zip tie that I've got holding my rope together. So you're going to put those up towards the top, grab a zip tie, and just zip tie your flowers onto your wreath. And honestly guys, this zip tie thing, I figured this out a few years ago. I've been making wreaths for over 30 years, and I figured this out a few years ago, and it was life-changing for me because I used to use wire, and I wired these on, which it worked fine, but when you're wiring and then you got to come to the back and do the twisting, and it was just a lot more work. So use a zip tie if you have it. If you don't have them on hand and you're ready to make your wreath, you could go ahead and use the wire. This is just much easier. So I've got them zip tied on, and you can check to make sure, yep, nice and tight. When you're satisfied that you've got it nice and tight, then you want to take the tail end of your zip tie and cut it off just beyond the locking mechanism. So I'm just going to cut there, okay, set that aside, and then just keep turning the locking mechanism. Turn that to the back so that when we're done with our wreath, you won't see that. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing to the left side. And again, it doesn't matter if I've got all of the ends of my stem perfectly together, just semi together. Okay, take another zip tie and zip tie the left bunch of flowers on for the left side. If I can get my zip tie to work. Okay, and again, you're just going to get it as tight as you can. And I'm going to turn it to the back. Give it one more little tug. Make sure you've got it nice and tight. Cut the tail off again. Okay, and next up, just for aesthetics, it really looks better if you go ahead and take kind of your larger, almost the presentation flower, if you will, the one that's kind of making the statement in your wreath, and put those on next. So I've chosen sunflowers, and I'm going to give you guys a little tip. Normally, I don't do the matchy thing when I'm doing a wreath or decorating my home. I think it looks better a lot of times if you've got maybe 3 flowers on one side and 4 on the other, or 3 on one side and 2 on the other. But for today, I actually already looked at it before I began this video and decided that I actually like the 3 and 3 look on this one. So we're going to go ahead and go with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stems of these 2 sunflowers and just kind of lay them over each other, just to kind of keep my flowers from kind of going all over the place. And put those in the middle here. And when I look at it, and keep in mind that I know I'm going to be putting a bow on my wreath, so I look to make sure that I'm happy with the amount of spacing and kind of where the leaves are. And once you look at it and decide that it's aesthetically pleasing and you're satisfied with the way it looks, then you're going to want to go ahead and take your other zip tie and zip tie your sunflowers on, or whatever your statement flowers are that are going to kind of steal the show, really, because they're the big guys. And just ratchet back, pull tight on your zip tie. And when you've got it nice and tight, again, we're just going to take our wire cutters, cut off the tail. Okay, and now we are ready for, make sure everything's good and snug, ready for our red flowers. And what we're going to do here is just what I told you to do with your purple flowers. You're just going to go and cut with wire cutters as close to the main stem as you can, so that you can start snipping these off, and make sure you're giving yourself enough stem part, this part, that you'll be able to get a zip tie around it. So just continue cutting these off. And I could have cut these off, guys, before I started the video, but honestly, I just wanted you guys, I saved the red ones and didn't do those ahead of time, so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about and how to do this process. It's really simple. So you're just cutting your red flowers off, and then when we get them all cut, we're going to look at it and decide if we need all of them or not. I'm almost thinking that we're not going to need all of these, but we can look at it here in a few minutes and decide if we do or don't. Okay, now throw that aside. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to gather up kind of what I think looks good. And again, I'm going to do these at varying heights. I'm not going to put them all at the same even level down here, because if I do, they all just kind of stay together and bunch up in one area. And I want my red flower to kind of go from the tips of my sunflowers back down to kind of the base of where my sunflowers are. So to achieve that, I'm just going to adjust the ends of my red flowers, put them at varying positions, lay it on. I'm going to look at it, and you can do the same thing, guys. And really, there's no right or wrong way. There's no rules. It's just whatever looks good to you. So if you look at it and think, oh, you know, get these out of the way so you guys can see. I'm going to hold this up where you can see it better maybe. I like that. But maybe just one more little bunch of red flowers right here, because this is a lot of greenery. So I'm just going to take another one, and on this one, I'm going to pull off the leaves. I'm going to slide those off so that they're not on. I don't need any more green there. I need red. So I'm going to actually pull off both of the leaves and actually that makes, let me see here, I can cut some of my stem off of this flower as well. So I just cut a little bit off so it wouldn't go so far over to the right. And I'm just going to kind of tuck those in where there was not a lot of color before and a lot of green. Do you see the difference? So just a nice little pop of red right there. And then in a minute, when we get them all attached, we can look at them and see if we think that they need to be rearranged. But this is how you decide if you need a little more color. You just look and think that's a lot of green. Pop in a little bit of red right there, and that fixes that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put a zip tie on these guys so that I don't have to try to hang on to those while I do the right side. So just throw another zip tie on, pull it nice and snug. Cut the tail off. Okay, and now I'm going to just repeat the same process for the other side and just grab out a few more red. And I'm going to lay them down and see how they look. And listen guys, it doesn't have to match the other side perfectly. It doesn't. You just lay them down until you see that it looks good. And to me, we've got the same thing kind of going on this right side too. A pop of red right in here would really help the overall look and feel of our wreath. So we're going to put another little pop of red there. And I'm going to pick this guy right here. And I'm going to take one of his green leaves off. And then kind of holding it up next to the others because I saw where I know that I want it. And then I'm going to cut off this excess stem just so that it's not in our way and not creating an odd look on our wreath. Okay, now when I'm happy with how those look, and you can kind of tuck some of them behind so that they look natural. Just tuck them behind some of your sunflowers or whatever your statement flowers that you're using. And I'm going to hold this. Well, I'll tell you what, before I hold it up, I'm going to go ahead and stick another zip tie on here. And guys, I think you've probably already figured out by now that this isn't hard. You guys can make your own wreaths. Like I said, I've been making them for myself and for other people for over 30 years. And guys, they're really not hard. I'll be sharing with you guys different wreaths that you can make for the different seasons. So I chose these colors for now because I think for spring and summer that this is a good look. So in the fall, I'll be teaching you guys how to do a fall wreath, and then we'll also do a Christmas wreath. But hopefully, by me showing you how easy this is, it's going to give you the confidence to go, trying to give you guys the confidence to go pick up some flowers and a garden hose or a rope and make your own cute little springtime, summertime wreath. So take the excess off, and guys, seriously, we're almost done. It's amazing how fast this is. Okay. I actually made the bow that's going to go on my wreath, but if you guys don't have a lot of confidence in doing that, just go to your local arts and crafts store and buy a pre-made bow. Makes it super easy because this part's already done for you. So now all we're going to do is go to the center where we've zip tied everything and attach our bow. And I'm going to give you guys a tip on that as well. If you make your own bow or you buy a store-bought one and it doesn't have wire attached to it with the 2 wire pieces like I've got here, just run a piece of florist wire or some sort of small gauge wire through the back side of the bow, because attaching your bow is so much easier if you've got this wire, because now we're just going to wire it on and it's going to stay on and you're not going to have to worry about it falling off, especially if you live in a windy state like I do, which is Oklahoma. You have to worry about that, because if it's not attached securely, you're going to find that thing in your yard or your neighbor's yard or a mile away from your house when these Oklahoma winds kick up. So I'm now just going to take my bow and I'm going to center it in the center of my wreath, and I'm going to start to pull. And actually, if you get a little pair of needle nose pliers and grab your wire on the back side, grab both pieces at the same time and start giving it a twist. And as you do that, you're going to notice on the front side where I've got my thumb around here still, I can feel my bow tightening up. I can feel it getting more secure to my wreath. So you're just going to twist that around several times to make sure that you get it good and snug, and then it's twisted up pretty good. And I even sometimes just finish it off, give it a couple of hand twists at that point to make sure it's good. And then you're just going to want to take your wire cutters and trim off your excess wire. Let's get those turned around the back side so I can get closer to the wire. So you're going to cut that off. Well, you're not supposed to cut the actual wire, which I just did. I cut through the wire and grabbed, let me just work to reattach it this way. I got too close. So there's a tip for you. When you're attaching your bow, yeah, don't get too close to your knot, if you will, that you just made in your wire, or you're going to do the same thing I just did and cut your wire. I'll go back and fix that. I won't make you guys watch me do that. But you look now and you have got yourself a super cute wreath that you can put on your door above your fireplace. Who knows, maybe you'll even get brave enough with your crafting abilities that you'll want to make one for your mom because Mother's Day's coming up. So there you go, guys. There's the finished product. I hope that this encourages you guys and lets you see how quick and easy making your own wreath really is. So if you guys have any questions at all about the process or about what I've done here today, just drop me a question in the comments section underneath this video. And would you do me one more favor? If you've got friends or family members that you think would benefit or would enjoy learning how to make things for their home, would you ask them to follow me on social media? I sure would appreciate it. So happy creating to you guys, and until next time, bye.